So you know how for several years they made a new Paranormal Activity movie every year? And they were mostly the same, but if you were kind of entertained by it the previous year, you could count on the fact that the next Halloween, you were going to be able to just watch that movie again. Like, it's back. The 50 Shades franchise is basically the romance genre's version of that. These movies are so by the numbers at this point. It's like Christian and Anna go on extravagant dates. They argue. They have sex instead of solving the argument. Repeat that cycle for about 30 minutes, and then somebody shows up and threatens them with a gun, and then the movie ends. If the way I described that makes it sound really zany and fun to watch, that's because it is. These movies are really funny. It's basically the purest experience of seeing a fan fiction performed on the big screen. So I was excited for this movie. I was so hyped to see the culmination of this franchise. And there's so much in this story to process. Like, I feel like I can't make a numbered list because this entire story and the way it unfolds beat for beat, there's just so much to it. I'm just kind of gonna go chronologically through the stuff that was weird, and it's gonna be most of the movie. So right in the first scene, the movie begins with Anna and Christian getting married, and then the opening credits play out over this extended, like 4-minute pop song honeymoon montage. I'm gonna tentatively call this the best part of the movie, and that is a bad sign. I just mean the pop song gives it kind of a nice energy, and you're seeing pretty scenery and just the briefest snippets of their honeymoon. They're kissing in the rain and eating at a cafe, snorkeling, giggling on bicycles. Since it's a montage, Christian isn't talking for this whole sequence, and the camera isn't lingering on his scary, emotionless face, so he isn't able to bring it down. During this montage, I was having like an out-of-body experience. I was like pretending that I was a fan of 50 Shades of Grey, or maybe even the author E.L. James herself, and that Anastasia and Christian were characters that were very dear to me. And I was thinking, if you're invested in these characters and you love them and you want to see them happy, you would be loving this montage. It was well executed. I don't like the characters, so I wasn't enjoying it, but it was through no fault of the montage. I just realized that during the montage, you're probably supposed to be pretending that you're Anastasia and going on this wonderful honeymoon, and instead I was dreaming small and just pretending that I was someone that could enjoy watching this montage. It was a blissful 4 minutes. Okay, so we come out of the montage and we are already in our first Anastasia and Christian argument. They're on a European beach, so everyone's topless. Anastasia wants to take her top off and sunbathe, and Christian is like, "No, your breasts are only for me, Anastasia." So, okay, let's imagine this argument and how it would play out if it was two rational people having it. Anna would say, "I want to sunbathe topless." Christian would say, "I don't want you to." Anna would say, "I'm my own person, and if I want to take my top off in a non-sexual context so I don't get tan lines on my chest, that should be okay." Christian would say, "Yeah, I respect that, but our head of security is here, and he's kind of like a long-term friend and colleague of mine, so just for me personally, I would be kind of uncomfortable knowing that he specifically saw my wife with her top off." And then Anna would maybe say, "That makes sense. But since he's like our guard and he lives in our apartment with us, I both think and hope that he's cool with seeing me with my top off on my vacation without making it like a weird, horny, sexual thing, because we trust him as our friend." And then Christian would say, "Also, you're a billionaire's wife now, and you might end up in a tabloid with your top off." And then Anna would probably say, "Oh my god, I didn't think about the paparazzi. I'm so glad you mentioned that. Maybe I don't want to take my top off." But since it's Anna and Christian and they're crazy people, it goes like this. Christian says, "You're showing enough skin as it is, Anastasia. You are mine." Anna says, "Okay, Christian." Anna waits for Christian to go away and then takes her top off behind his back. He comes back. He's angry. He throws a towel at her violently, cover yourself up. You've disgraced us both. Anna huffs at him childishly. And now, having not mentioned it before, Christian's like, you're going to be in some tabloid now. And then Anna is embarrassed because the film wants us to know that Christian is right to treat her like a child. And then they go ride a jet ski while a pop song plays. Their fight didn't matter. Welcome to 50 Shades of Grey. This is how it goes. So Christian receives a call from his employee telling him that Anna's crazy ex-boss, who she got fired for sexually assaulting her, has broken into Christian's office building wearing a crazy disguise, hacked through the door locks, stole information from the computers, and planted a cartoon-looking time bomb in the building to fry the system. Anna's former boss is a literary agent. I don't know how he would possess the skills to pull off any part of this plan or the inclination, but they cut their honeymoon short and go home to deal with this. We have a scene where they talk to their staff and the kitchen lady is like, Anna, this is your home. You're the boss. And the whole purpose of the scene is just wish fulfillment, but that's the whole movie, I guess. Anna cooks Christian dinner, and then it comes up in conversation that Christian hates the idea of having children. And Anna seems shocked and upset by this because she really wants a family. And you're kind of like, they didn't talk about this before they got married. Christian finally says he's okay with having kids someday. He just doesn't want to yet because he's not ready to share Anna. So I'm glad his really healthy and mature reason for not wanting kids is that he'd be jealous of a baby. Anna returns to work and this lady we've never seen before walks up to her like, you got a promotion and you weren't even here. And she's obviously very resentful of it. I mean, fair, but you're like, okay, this is our sleeper villain for the third act. Anna's assistant, whose name is Hannah, because that's confusing, is like, oh, Anna, I sent an email to IT so they can change your email address because right now it's Anastasia Steele at Publishing Company and they have to change it to Gray because you're married and you are going to change your name. Anna kind of balks at this, let's leave it for now. It's like it hasn't occurred to her before to consider whether she even wants to change her name, and you're like, what did she consider before she got married? So as soon as this exchange happened, I was kind of like, okay, are they setting up we're going to have some petty argument later where she keeps putting this off and then Christian finds out, a month from now and he's like, you never changed your name. Our marriage isn't working or something stupid like that. Turns out I didn't have to even wait that long. An hour later, Anna is with a client and Christian storms in with his full entourage, just worked up into a lather. He demands to speak to her. He interrupts her job and he's like, Anna, I just tried to send you an email and it didn't go through because your name isn't Anastasia Gray on your email address yet. And it's like, okay, based on what her assistant said when she walked in, even if Anna had the best of intentions and wanted to change her email address, it kind of sounds like it would have taken a day or two to get that done. And it's not something he has to freak out over. Why did he come here in person? Why didn't he call her on the phone or talk about it when she got home that night? Also, I forgot when Christian gets there, after her client leaves, he looks after the client and he's like, good looking guy. He's literally accusing her of cheating on him. They've been married a week. They've fought over everything and he already suspects her of cheating on him just because there's a man in her workplace. This marriage is only red flags. It has no flags of any other colors. So anyway, this is already a petty argument because why does he really care if she changes her name? But then Anastasia's like, I might change my name but keep my work email and my work name as Steele just because I feel like people already assume that I got this job because of who I'm married to and I want to kind of tamp down on those suspicions. So now this is stupid for more bonus reasons, okay? Number one, they are now arguing solely over an email address, which is unbelievably petty. Two, in this universe, we already found out that Christian's famous enough to be in the tabloids, so everyone already knows that Anna married him, and changing her name doesn't make any difference. 3, Anna did get this job because of Christian. Like, she didn't get here by her own merits. She got promoted while she was gone on her honeymoon. Within like 3 months, she went from the intern who was getting coffees to the head of the department. And it all started happening for her after her boyfriend bought the company. Anyway, as with all of their arguments, she just kind of is like, we'll talk about it later, and then insinuates that they're gonna have sex later, and then he leaves, and it's never brought up again or resolved. Okay, at this point, we are barely into the movie. I'm just gonna start moving at lightning speed of things that catch my fancy in the story, or this video is gonna be as long as the movie because there's seriously so much to unpack. Okay, Christian surprises Anna by buying her a house that he saw her admiring from afar one time, which I literally said was gonna happen in my last 50 Shades video. They hire an architect who's some kind of blonde, husband-stealing harlot because in 50 Shades, other women can only be sisters and enemies and there's no middle ground. That scene goes nowhere. It's literally just to show that Anna got a man and that other women are jealous. Anna and Christian get in a comically out-of-place car chase sequence, and it literally has like a song blasting the whole time, and there are like lumber trucks coming through to make obstacles. Anna's evil former boss, who is hilariously named Jack Hyde, breaks into her apartment and threatens her with a butcher knife, and her security stops him. Christian surprises Anna with a trip to Aspen, and all of their friends go along. Christian's brother proposes to Anna's best friend. They're gonna be sisters. Yay! If you're thinking that all of these events sound like disconnected, pointless, episodic adventures, like you would see in a fanfic that updates in a linear fashion every week, then you'd be right, and I haven't even bothered mentioning the sex scenes. Just assume that for every event I mentioned, there is a sex scene in between them. The sex scenes take up like half the runtime, and they're all the same as each other, and every time you're just sitting there bored. Like, it's just an interruption of the meager story, and you're like, I don't really want it to go back to the story, but I don't want this either. Anna and Christian don't really like bond or interact while they're having sex, so it's not like developing characters. Although in the first scene, they're trying to demonstrate that Anna is like witty, and she's like witty in that way where you're told and not shown. So Christian's like, do you remember our safe word, Anastasia? And she's like, it's purple. Just kidding, it's red. And you're supposed to be like, wow, what a funny woman. In all of the sex scenes, suddenly it's shot with these like extreme close-ups on individual body parts, and it's lit so harshly. You're seeing all like the peach fuzz on both of their bodies. It just starts to feel like meat. You're just looking at meat, like it doesn't, you forget that it's attached to humans. It starts to feel a little grotesque. Like when I rewatched the movie to make this video, I was trying to eat dinner. I was eating soup. And there's this scene where Anna starts like putting melty ice cream on Christian in like a sexy fashion, and you're seeing the melted ice cream like clinging to his body hair, and I was like, it put me off my food. I couldn't keep eating my soup. And they blare these loud, cheesy R&B songs, so it's just like lethargic. It's just like a cheesy, awkward music video where you're just looking at strangers' naked bodies. I feel like people watching this video are going to doubt me. Like, they're gonna be like, I've seen sex scenes before, and it's not as weird as you're making it sound. You haven't seen 50 Shades of Grey. You don't understand what I'm talking about. You need to experience it. And even though this movie is definitely for women, Christian, like, sometimes he takes his shirt off, but usually Anna's the one who's naked, and she's like all the way naked, like for a lot of the movie. There's actually a scene where they're having an argument and Anna's just naked. And you're like, why? Who's this for? They somehow get you to feel detached and bored and squeamish all at the same time. Oh, also, I don't know where else to nitpick this, but Anastasia's lipstick was really bothering me the whole time. That's why I've done this. My lipstick is a tribute to her lipstick. She's wearing some shade of red lipstick in every single scene, and I don't know why, but they've applied it in this one just one sweeping arch. Just this unflattering, smooth arch across her whole upper lip. It makes her mouth look like some kind of narrow football. And I know her lip has a shape because you can see it under the lipstick. I don't know why they're doing this. They just steamroll right over it and give her a serious case of football mouth. And she's never without it. You see Anastasia literally in the shower, waking up in the morning, full football mouth. It's the Hey Arnold of mouths. Anyway, back to the story. We're in the home stretch right now. Christian's security detail comes in to proudly reveal everything they've dug up on Jack Hyde. He hands Christian a whole folder and then he's just like, he went to Princeton and he's from Detroit. And Christian's like, nice work. Dude, I don't know if you got your money's worth on this one. It kind of just seems like they went to Jack's Facebook and read all of the parts they can access without adding him as a friend. Oh, they also say that Jack Hyde once slept with a female coworker and then blackmailed her using her sex tape. So, yay. Anna and Christian go home to Seattle, and then the cops visit Anna at her workplace. They tell her that Jack is up for bail after bombing Christian's workplace and breaking into her house and threatening her with a knife because he told the cops that he and Anna had sex and she's lying. The perfect crime. If only Anna was like a billionaire with access to great legal representation, or she had witnesses that saw him threatening her with a knife, or there was security footage of him breaking into Christian's office. And if only Jack had left a threatening note with his fingerprints on it that said, "You owe me a life." So Jack's bail is set at $500,000 and he just pays it. I guess he just had that sitting around. Then we find out that Anna has forgotten to take her birth control for several months and is now pregnant. Anna is also not that happy about having children because she's 22. So you kind of feel like she and Christian are on the same page. So obviously they handle the situation like mature adults and the conversation goes exactly as you would expect. Christian immediately blows up at Anna. He storms out of the apartment, goes to his former mistress's house for comfort, comes home in the wee hours drunk, slurs to Anna about his paranoia that she will love the baby more than him, and makes Anna leave the room crying to go sleep in their sex dungeon. This is every woman's fantasy relationship. Then the very next morning, Anna goes to work and she gets a call from Jack Hyde. He reveals that he has kidnapped He has kidnapped Christian's sister. He's going to kill Christian's sister unless Anna brings him $5 million in cash. He tells Anna that if she tells anyone, he will murder Mia right away. And Anna believes him. And, why? Jack is just a guy. He's not tapping her phones. He doesn't have any resources. Why wouldn't she call the police? Or at least Christian? Or maybe even call a friend and consult with them for advice. But anyway, he told her that he would do a bad thing if she did that, so she takes him at face value. So Anna goes to the bank to get the ransom money, and can I just walk you through how this scene would appear if you were the bank manager character? So a woman walks into your bank. She's wearing clothes that make her look like a teenage runaway. She's wearing a gray hoodie and sneakers and carrying a giant duffel bag. She is visibly distraught and she tells you that she needs to withdraw $5 million cash right now. So I looked it up, and a typical branch of a bank will carry about $50,000 to a max of $500,000 in their vault at any given time. But this is Seattle, it's a big city, and it looks like a big bank. So let's just pretend that you have that amount on hand to give to her and it won't wipe you out. The account that this jumpy looking woman is trying to access is shared with her husband. You step out of the room and without warning her or consulting her, you take it upon yourself to call her husband. When you call him, he sounds upset and demands to speak to her. You hand her the phone and step out of the room. When you come back, she is crying. She gives you the phone back and her husband says, angrily, "Give her whatever she wants. Do as she says." You shrug because no part of this is alarming to you, and you pack $5 million cash into her shady duffel bag. The woman starts to walk to the front of the bank, curses, looks panicked, and asks you if she can leave through the back of the bank. She asks to borrow your cell phone. She does not give it back. She goes out the back of the bank and climbs into an SUV where a woman wearing sunglasses and a headscarf picks her up, throws a phone out the window, and drives away at top speed. So in the context of the movie, the bank manager has this entire experience, and he's just like, okay. And he just goes about his day. Seems alright to me. He at no point contacts the police. Like, I guess banks don't have panic buttons anymore. Okay, so Anna gets in the car. The driver is that lady from earlier that I said was gonna be in on it. She's in on it. She's a bad guy, surprise. She takes Anna to, like, I guess this district of Seattle that's like an abandoned shanty town. I guess that exists there. So Jack is waiting there, and can I just take this opportunity to talk about the villain situation in the 50 Shades of Grey franchise? So this movie is the culmination of a trilogy. We've had 2 films to lay some groundwork here. I did a video about the second 50 Shades movie, and in it I said I was so hyped for the third one because it seemed to me that they were setting up like a rogues gallery of all these different people that had it out for Anna and Christian. So here are your established possible villains at the end of 50 Shades 2. The jealous older woman who initiated Christian into BDSM when he was underage. She's mentioned in this movie, but she doesn't appear even once. Anastasia's friend-zoned friend Jose. He looked super jealous at their engagement party at the end of the movie, and I thought they were setting up some kind of rivalry. He shows up at Anna's birthday in Aspen, and I guess everything's chill, and he just kind of has a fun time with them, and nothing comes of it. Christian's crazy ex, who had a psychotic break, threatened Anna with a gun, and was never properly dealt with by the authorities. She also doesn't appear in this movie at all. And Anna's evil ex-boss, Jack, who she got fired for trying to sexually assault her. So in this movie, our villains are Jack and this random lady that wasn't in any of the other movies, and even in this movie she was just in one scene. It's revealed through boring dialogue scenes that Jack actually hates Christian and not just Anna, because I guess they were foster kids in the same home at one time. Christian ended up getting adopted by billionaires, and I guess that Jack felt like he was entitled to that life because it could have been him. I don't know. But remember when Jack had to pay bail? It was $500,000, and he evidently just had that. And he also, before he ruined it for himself, had a successful career as a fiction editor. I mean, it seemed like he was doing okay before he decided to be crazy. I didn't know being a fiction editor paid that well, but I guess it does, so he can't argue he's not also a self-made man. I also love that when Jack Hyde was introduced as Anna's boss, he looked like this, and after he turned evil, he looks like this. Okay, I went to the 50 Shades wiki, which exists, to get that before picture of Jack Hyde, and I was reading the physical description of the character of Jack Hyde. These are the book descriptions. There's one bullet point that says, he is 35 during the events of the series, and another that says, note, Anna never explicitly says he looks old or unattractive, merely that his stare is unnerving. Anna never says that he looks old. He's 35. Anyway, obviously Christian shows up just in time with the cops, and Anna's fine, the baby's fine, even though she got kicked in the stomach. And Christian wants the baby now, and everything's fine, and they lived happily ever after. Christian also says that the woman working with Jack Hyde was working with him because he also slept with her and also blackmailed her with their sex tape, because that's the only way to control a woman, is to have sex with her. Wait, is that like the moral of the whole series? The movie ends with this whole montage set to the pop song Love Me Like You Do, which was featured in the first movie, and it's exactly the way Twilight ended their whole series, with like flashbacks to other moments from the early films, and you're supposed to feel like fondness or nostalgia or something, but none of these moments are iconic and you don't have any emotional attachment to them. At least I don't. I mean, at least in Twilight, those movies escalated to like an insane degree, so it was like, look how far they've come. In this one, they're just married now. It's the same. I honestly, at this point, was just thinking how great it would be if they had all those flashbacks to set up like an occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge type twist ending. Early in the first movie, like right after her disastrous first date with Christian, Anna walks out on the street and she almost gets knocked over by a bicyclist. He's only going like 15 miles an hour, but Christian pulls her out of the way and he's like, look out, you could have been killed. And it's like, I mean, maybe she would have broken her arm at the worst. But what if at the end of this movie, they cut back to that after all of those lovely flashbacks and it's revealed that she had like a really unlucky fall and just was like knocked into traffic, and this entire series has been the fevered imaginings of her dying brain. That would just save the whole thing for me. I mean, to be fair, you can improve literally any movie by giving it that ending.